Hello, and welcome to All the Trek, the show where I watch every episode of Star Trek until
I am Belloc Murray.
I'm your host, Bree, and today I'll be reviewing episodes 9 and 10 of Star Trek, the original series. Episode 9, Dagger of the Mind. In this episode, the Enterprise crew does a terrible job of checking cargo that comes from an insane asylum. A crazy doctor escapes into their midst, and Bones insists on examining Dr. Crazy, which launches a bureaucratic investigation of the planet. Kirk goes down to the surface of the planet with ship's psychiatrist Dr. Noel. I can't tell if there's a lot of sexual tension between these two, or if they're both just constipated. Kirk and Noel get a tour of the asylum/rehab facility from director Dr. Adams. He shows them a machine that Dr. Crazy had been working on, but insists that it does not work. This is where things get interesting. The issue of over-medication versus rehabilitation comes up, which is actually really cool and progressive of the writers. So it turns out that the machine does work, and it makes people very open to suggestion. I'm talking gaping vortex of empty space open. The baddies trick Kirk into believing that he's in love with Noelle, and he almost goes creepy Kirk evil twin on her. Spock does the Vulcan mind meld for the first time in the series, and he learns that the asylum is corrupt. The Enterprise crew swoops in and saves the day. Dr. Director Adams manages to get himself stuck in the mind-blanking machine alone and dies, because apparently man can die from having a blank mind or loneliness or something to that effect. There's a lot of science versus morals versus bureaucracy in this episode. The romance aspect was really weak, but everything else was fairly strong. 4 out of 5 stars. Episode 10, the Corbomite Maneuver. They finally go where no man has gone before. No routine calls, no distress calls, just bona fide, clear open space. The first thing that they meet is a giant Rubik's Cube, but don't worry because they immediately destroy it and then meet a giant star covered in gold dinner plates. There's a lot of attention on Navigator Bailey, who, up until this point, hasn't been mentioned at all. He's an utterly forgettable piece of the story. If only they would let you forget him. Kirk is kind of sexist about having a female yeoman, which makes no sense because at this point, he and Rand have been on several missions together. I'm guessing based on the story and the character interaction so far that this was supposed to be one of the first, if not the first, episodes aired. The aliens in the dinner plate spaceship threaten to destroy the Enterprise, and Kirk bluffs the hell out of them. Later, it turns out that them is actually just a creepy baby with a man voice. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Clint Howard as Belloc. Color me impressed, and frankly kind of horrified. I didn't see that coming at all. Turns out that Belloc just wanted to test the waters and see what was up with humanity. Bailey volunteers to stay behind in the child-sized spaceship to be Belloc's companion. The entire crew of the Enterprise sighs in relief, pleased to finally be rid of Bailey the drama queen. This episode really surprised me. 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that it was going to be a test of Bailey's abilities, but it turned out to be a test for the whole crew. Episode 11, and what the heck, Episode 12. The Menagerie, Parts 1 and 2. In this two-parter, Spock bamboozles the entire Enterprise crew in order to help his old friend, Captain Pike. After the events of the pilot, Pike was horribly disfigured and completely paralyzed, and Spock decides that he'd like his friend to live out the rest of his life in happiness. Unfortunately, that means he has to take Pike to a forbidden planet that the Enterprise is not allowed to land on. Spock is able to issue fake orders and overrides the Enterprise's navigation system, leaving Captain Kirk behind. Kirk and Commodore Mendez chase down the Enterprise, and when they catch him, Mendez demands a trial for Spock. Spock openly admits his crimes and requests a court-martial. He shows the panel his evidence, and once he's through, the Commodore and Pike disappear from the room. It turns out that the aliens were faking the presence of Pike and Mendez in order to sneak Pike down to the Forbidden Planet. We get to see the ending of the pilot rewritten so that Pike and Vina live happily ever after. Spock explains that all of his actions were perfectly logical and is cleared of all charges. The reused footage from the pilot took me out of the story a lot, so I'd give it 1 out of 5 stars for that. But I imagine seeing it for the first time would be very compelling, so I give it 4 out of 5 stars for the new footage. Thank you for watching All the Trek. You can find more information on what Alice and Megan thought of the episode by clicking the link below. You can also go to the Educating Geeks website for more content. You can find us on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and Tumblr. Join me next week for another Trek Tuesday. Live long and prosper.